Hello students, this is Kanika. Welcome to my channel Prep Biology. So today in this lecture we are going to discuss about the gametogenesis. This is the second part of the gametogenesis. In the first part, in the previous class, we have discussed about the spermatogenesis, and in today's class we are going to discuss about the oogenesis. So what do you mean by oogenesis? Oogenesis means the formation of female gametes. Okay. So it is the process of formation of female gametes, that is the ovum. That is the ovum. And which organelle produce the ovum? That is the ovary. This is the primary sex organ of the female that produce the ovum by the process of oogenesis. So let's start the different events which occurs in the oogenesis. If we start with oogenesis, oogenesis will start in the womb of mothers. Okay, so during the embryonic development, when a girl is in the womb of the mother, and during the embryo development in the womb, or during the fetal development, during the embryonic development, the million of gamete mother cells will form in the ovary of a girl. Okay, so during the embryonic development, the million of the gamete mother cells are formed. Those gamete mother cells are called the oogonia. Okay, so in the fetal these oogonias are produced about million in number. Okay, so millions of oogonia are firstly produced in the ovary of the fetal. Okay, so next, after the birth of a girl, the oogonia, in the oogonia, multiple divisions takes place, and it will arrest in the prophase of the meiotic division. Okay, so millions of oogonia are produced in the ovary of the fetal. After the birth of a girl, this oogonia divides, and it will arrest in the prophase 1 of the meiosis. It will arrest in the prophase 1 of the meiosis. Okay, so when it will arrest, the oogonia turns into the primary oocyte. Okay, so the oogonia will turn into the primary oocyte when it arrests in the prophase 1 of the meiotic division. That structure is called the primary oocyte. I hope this is clear to you all. Now understand it carefully. If this is the primary oocyte, and after some time, around the primary oocyte, a layer of granulosa is formed, and that structure is called the primary follicle. Okay, so when the primary oocyte formed, and around the primary oocyte a layer of the granulosa takes place, that structure is called the primary follicle. Okay, I hope these two terms are clear to you all. Now, if we talk about the embryonic development takes place in the fetal condition. This development, the primary oocyte, primary follicle will take place after the birth. And if we see in the fetal condition, in the fetus, the millions of oogonias are produced, but at the puberty, only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left. Okay, so their number decreased from the birth to the puberty. Okay, I hope this point is clear to you all. Now, if we see the oogenesis process, we know that there is a oogonia which is diploid in number, and it will turn out into the primary oocyte. Okay, now the primary oocyte will develop a granulosa layer around it, and it will form the primary follicle, which is also a diploid in number. Now the primary follicle, around the primary follicle, the another granulosa layer will form, and it will increase its size. That structure is called the secondary follicle, which is also a diploid in nature. Okay, oogonia is also diploid, primary follicle is also diploid. Okay, now at the center of the follicles there is a primary oocyte present. Okay, now this structure, secondary follicle, develops another layer, or the another granulosa layer around it. That structure is called the tertiary follicle. Now this stage is very, very important. Understand it carefully. At the tertiary follicle stage, this centrally located primary oocyte will undergo the first meiosis. When the meiosis takes place, it will form this structure is called the secondary. This structure is called the secondary oocyte. Okay. After the meiotic division occurs in the primary oocyte, these two bodies are formed. One is the secondary oocyte and another is the first polar body. I hope this is clear to you all. Okay. So remember, when the tertiary follicle will form, the primary oocyte undergoes the first meiotic division and it will form the secondary oocyte and the first polar body. Now, when the meiosis takes place, it is the reductional division, so the 2n will convert into the n. Okay, so it is haploid in nature. I hope this is clear to you all. Now, in the tertiary follicle, a fluid-filled cavity is formed in the body that is called the antrum. Okay, so in the tertiary follicles, the fluid-filled cavity is formed. That cavity is called the antrum, and the layers are called the outermost layer, granulosa layer, is called the outer theca interna. Okay, and the inner one is the inner theca interna. Okay, so this tertiary follicle is very, very important. Why it is important? Because in this stage, the primary oocyte will undergo the first meiosis and form the secondary oocyte and the first polar body. Now, when the tertiary follicle will mature, it will form, it will enlarge its size, and the another layer of the granulosa is formed around it. That matured follicle is called the Graafian follicle. This is very, very important. And so these are all events from the primary oocyte to the Graafian follicle. It will occur from birth to the puberty. Okay, will occur from birth to the puberty. I hope this, the development of the follicles and the divisions of the oogenesis is clear to you all. If we understand the different events under the oogenesis with the help of this chart, so in the fetal life, in the womb of a mother, millions of the oogonias are produced. The divisions occurs, that is the mitosis occurs, and the primary oocyte will form when it will arrest in the prophase 1. Okay, that we have studied. Now, after the birth of a girl, the primary oocyte undergoes first meiotic division and secondary oocyte will form. Okay, so when the primary oocyte will undergo the first meiosis, then the chromosome number from 46, it will convert to the 23. So the ploidy of the first oogonia is 2n. When the secondary oocyte will form, its ploidy is n, that is 23 chromosomes. Now, the primary oocyte will convert into the secondary oocyte and the first polar body. Then, in the puberty stage or in the adult reproductive stage, the secondary oocyte will convert into the ovum and the second polar body. Okay, so this occurs at the puberty stage. I hope this chart is clear to you all, and different events of the oogenesis is clear to you all. Okay, so after the puberty stage, that Graafian follicle will rupture and release the ovum Okay, so the end product of this is ovum. I hope this is clear to you. Now let's talk about the structure of ovary. So this is the sectional view of ovary. Okay, so we know that the primary oogonia or the oogonia will convert first into the primary oocyte. Okay, so these all are the primary oocyte. The primary oocyte develop granulosa around it, that is called the primary follicle. Now primary follicle will increase its structure and it will convert into the secondary follicle. Now the secondary follicle converts into tertiary follicle and it contains a special fluid filled cavity that is called the antrum. Okay, now we know that the primary oocyte, first meiosis will take place and it will convert into the secondary oocyte and first polar body. The secondary oocyte will convert into the ovum during the puberty and the second polar body. Now, if we see this structure, the tertiary follicle will convert into the Graafian follicle, matured structure, and at the puberty, the Graafian follicle will rupture and release the ovum. Okay, and release the ovum. Now, at the puberty, Graphene follicle release ovum by the process of ovulation. This is important. What is ovulation? At the puberty, the graphene follicle will rupture and release the ovum by the process of ovulation. If you all can see here, the left part of the graphene follicles will form the corpus luteum. Now, what is the function of the corpus luteum? The corpus luteum forms the hormone that produces the hormone that is called the progesterone. It helps during the childbirth and the pregnancy. Okay. It plays a major role during the pregnancy and the childbirth. So this is important. Okay, corpus luteum will produce the hormone that is the progesterone, and it helps, the progesterone plays a major role during the pregnancy and the childbirth. Now, one very important point is that when the secondary oocyte will convert into the ovum, it will form the layer around it. If this is the ovum and secondary oocyte produce a layer around the ovum, that layer is called the zona pellucida. Okay, that layer is called the zona pellucida. So this is all about the oogenesis and the structure of the ovary. So this sectional view of the ovary is very, very important for your board exam point of view, and the process of the oogenesis is also very important. I hope this lecture is beneficial to you all. If you like this lecture, like, share and subscribe my channel, that is the Prep Biology.